Welcome to the Craftsman interview. I'm here with Elliot West of Elliot West Home Services. So let's jump right into this. Elliot, tell us a little bit about where did you grow up? What got you into home building, home repair, remodeling, all that kind of stuff?
I grew up in Libertyville. I've lived in Libertyville most of my life. Went to Rockland Elementary, Highland Junior High, where I actually met my wife, and went to graduated from Libertyville. As far as getting into, and we now live in Libertyville. We live by St. Joe's.
Oh, okay.
And as far as getting into the trades, I've always had a knack for this type of work.
Okay.
A lot of that from my grandfather. Taught me a lot about that, but a lot of that drive came from growing up with a single mother in Libertyville and wanting to be able to fix things to save her money. And and that, and also the drive of, I remember her always talking about me needing to be there when repair people came in. And so I always wanted to, because she was nervous about who was going to show up at the house. So I tried to learn how to fix as much stuff as I could. So
it's treated you well. Tell us a little bit about the journey of opening up your business. What did you do before this?
Well, after high school, I worked for a builder out of Libertyville who built custom homes pretty much from Glencoe down to Kenilworth, and very elaborate homes, and I did carpentry for him.
Okay.
At that time, I realized I didn't want to be a carpenter for the rest of my life, so I thought, and decided to go back to school. Started back at CLC and started my own little handyman business, if you will, to pay for school. And from there, I'd been accepted to Trinity in Deerfield to go to school there. Just needed to finish up some classes in Grays Lake, and I had made up some flyers that I sent out to, or put on people's doorknobs, and started getting a lot of calls, and was doing a lot of handyman work, for everything from little plumbing stuff to electrical to crown molding carpentry, and was going to school full time as well as trying to pay for school, and came down to the decision that, okay, I need to either not work as much and pursue school, or one or the other. And I knew, wanting to go into business, I always wanted to work for myself. I knew that I might have to work for somebody else for a while.
Okay.
But I'm like, well, here's an opportunity. People seem to be happy with what I offer, and I haven't turned back since.
Awesome. So what year was that when you started?
That was around 2002, 2003, in that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still consider yourself a carpenter?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my, out of anything that we do, that's my favorite thing, is carpentry.
Really? Tell me a little bit about what you guys. We're here in your shop.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make furniture?
Yeah. We for years we would buy like stock cabinetry or stock vanities, and even buying some of the nicer quality stuff out there. I was looking at it and seeing how much people were paying for it for like a simple vanity, and the builder I had worked in his cabinet shop for about a year. And I'm like, well, we can make this. We can make it better and cheaper. So that kind of, and we could get it faster than us ordering it. So I'm like, and I enjoy doing it too. So we started doing that, and since then, we get asked to do, simple vanities, large kitchen cabinetry, nice china hutches, furniture, tables. So it's a lot of fun. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great. I have a confession. One of my dreams is actually to build homes and do what you do. I'm a frustrated carpenter.
Yeah.
I do some crown molding and things like that.
Yeah.
All pine painted stuff, so I can cover up my errors and stuff. But it's a blast. Do you have a favorite thing that you make? A piece of furniture or project? Tell us a little bit about your projects.
For me, I like when it comes to carpentry. Me personally, the guys have their things that they're better at or they enjoy more. I started with crown. Usually people start with base molding and chair rail and simple casing around windows, but I like crown because it figuring out the angles, and once you get the knack of it, it flows very nicely, and just knowing how to problem solve with that and make it look good definitely takes some skill.
Well, it makes a huge difference in a room. When you're in a room that has crown molding in it, and nice trim, it to me it makes a huge difference. So how many people do you have in your company? Tell me a little bit about how you work as an operation.
Yeah, so we have 6 employees, and we have an office manager who handles all the administrative stuff that drives me crazy that I'm not good at. Okay. But how we operate, we have clients that we do everything from, say, a maintenance package where people will have us in their home, some of them as often as every couple weeks, and to twice a year or once a year, where we come in, we give them kind of a maintenance program, says, we're going to check this, and that, everything in the house, to the door weather stripping, to light switches, to drawer slides, to caulking, to painting, to the roof, everything. Okay. And we give them a checklist. So we do that end of things on the maintenance side. And then we do a lot of bathrooms, a lot of kitchens, getting a lot more into basements. Basements are nice because they're out of the way. They're not as invasive as the other stuff. I love bathrooms. Bathrooms are probably one of my favorite things to do. Just because it's a place where people spend a lot of time. People spend time in kitchens, but the before and after, and some of the products they have, some of the marbles they have, some of the porcelains and ceramics they have just look very elegant and have that major wow factor. Okay. So I just I love the finished product of those projects. Yeah, so there's not much that we don't do. And what I've really strived to do over the years is, even if it's something that we don't do, like landscaping or pavers or HVAC or extensive roof work, I've really tried hard to develop relationships with people who I can say, call this person. And they know that whoever's coming to their house is going to show up, is going to be fair, be honest, and have integrity, and they're going to know they're going to be getting what they're
you've vetted them. Yeah. In other words, yeah. That's cool. Tell me a little bit about the guys you work with. I mean, do you have? Are they specialists? Painting, like as a painter, like as a carpenter?
Yeah, there's. I'll pick 3. So Nick is our foreman. He does everything. He will run jobs. He's very skilled across the board. There's things that he likes to do and doesn't like to do, but. Does carpenter, light electrical, can do plumbing, can do just about anything. Okay. Jason, who's worked for us for a number of years, he does almost all of our stonework, whether that's anything tile related or chimney related, tuck pointing, fireplace, redoing fireplaces, and but he's a very good carpenter too. There's Wes, who's most comfortable out of anybody with the electrical aspect. Okay. All of them can do it, but just some guys for obvious reasons, don't like working on electrical. But they, I always liked electrical because it's like math. It either works or it doesn't work, and you usually know when it's not working.
True, true.
But what I love about those guys, the guys are. There's plenty of guys out there who know how to do stuff, who are skilled craftsmen, as you will, as the Craftsman theme. But there's what I look for is those guys who know how to do stuff, obviously, but also who I think back to my childhood. I'm like, this is the kind of guy I would want in my mom's house. That she wouldn't have to have me there if this person showed up, because she would feel comfortable with them, because they got good personalities, they have a good heart. They're not perfect, but they're somebody that can be trusted in your house, and that's what it's all. I mean, that's if somebody trusts you in their house, and they know that they trust you as a person, they'll use you forever. They're not going to go anywhere else. And
that's huge. Yeah, I mean, your industry. It's and I guess you could say this about a lot of industries. I've been in the investment world and the insurance world. You could certainly say it about that industry, but general contractors that's a rough business. Yeah. And there are a lot of horror stories out there. Yeah. So is that, going back to your mom, that's kind of what pulls you in to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It's not only about skill set, but it's about the character of the person that's coming in.
Well, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, sadly, I think why we've done so well, we don't advertise. It's all been word of mouth ever since we started. But if you simply just do what you say you're going to do, people think. It's amazing. And if you do a little bit, even if you go a little bit extra, then they think you're really great.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, you show up and do what you're supposed to be doing already in life, and people think you're great, which is sad, but it helps. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But
So what geography do you guys cover?
These days, we try not to go south of Lake Cook Road.
Okay.
We try not to go west of Barrington and not go north of the border of Wisconsin, and obviously we stay on this side of the lake. We do have quite a few clients who have second places, say in the city. We have some particular clients who have places in the city where I wouldn't want to take on, say, a remodel in the city, but if they call up and say, hey, we'd like you down here for a day to do a little to-do list. We don't mind doing that, but mainly because I don't like asking my guys to spend 2 hours on the road all the way out there, all the way back.
Right.
But long term, I've thought about opening something in the city too, because I like working in the city, and there's a lot of work down there as well. But,
definitely. Do you build homes? I mean, you do a lot of remodeling and
we focus
like that.
We focus mainly on the remodels. We've been asked over the years. We've only been asked recently one time, and then previously in the past. It's not something I've ventured into. I would be open to it. It's also one of those things where it'll be interesting how that happens, because I would do that. I have complete confidence that I could do that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to hire, if there's this guy who's built 20 homes and this guy who feels confident he can build a home but hasn't built a home, I'm going to hire the guy who has built homes. So it will take me getting my foot in the door with that, which is in the pipeline, but there's plenty of other ventures out there that.
Well, Libertyville's got some great home builders in town.
Oh yeah, there's some great guys in Libertyville.
Yeah. So. Do you have? Does most of your work come from the Libertyville area?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself on the North Shore much?
It started where majority of it was in Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, but over the last 5 years, we do a ton of work in Libertyville. I'd say most of our work is in Libertyville, and all different neighborhoods of Libertyville, from Green Oaks to Wineberry to the interlocking neighborhoods to some of the areas off of Golf and Dawes, Butterfield and Winchester, some of the older parts, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Street over by Copeland School. So we're pretty spread out. There's not really any neighborhoods within Libertyville or even Green Oaks that now we're not tapping into. So, which I like, because that keeps everything
pretty
close.
Compact,
we're actually planning this year, right before this, I met with our foreman, Nick, and he was talking about changes he was wanting to make here in the shop. And I said, well, I don't want to do too much here because I want to move things to Libertyville.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's my plan, hopefully in November.
Do you have a space?
There's a couple places I'm looking at. There's a spot right by Lake Monier that I really want.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Okay.
It's Libertyville, and I don't care about having a storefront or any of that stuff, but it would just be nice to be able to drive just 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
walk to work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's great. Where do most of your referrals come from? I mean, I know that you hear a lot of real estate agents and people in town, especially a community like Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, Libertyville. They're pretty tight knit.
Yes.
And everyone knows one another. Do a lot of your referrals come from realtors, or is it mainly customers that you've been doing work for?
A couple of different. Realtors are a big one. We, I think what is appealing to realtors about us is, say a homeowner is selling or buying and they have stuff that comes up on an inspection and they need a roofer, they need a plumber, they need an electrician, they need a carpenter, they need this guy or that guy. What I've conveyed to them is, you don't need to call all these people. Call me, I'll take care of all of it. I'll get our guys in there to fix, say, 90% of it, and I'll use my guys to come in and fix the HVAC or this. So it's one call, one person, done.
Got it.
So the real estate, there's a lot, and I haven't really tapped into that, but it's come to me, and I have a lot of pictures. If I want to grow in that direction, so the real estate's a big one. Then there's other little communities, like we've worked for quite a few of the Bears players over the years, and that's a community that once you kind of tight knit in that once you get into that, they refer you and will use you and refer you a lot. And again, we're fair, and that's what else is we treat everybody the same. We do have like discounted rates for like senior citizens, or have a big heart for single moms, obviously. Okay. But whether it's, person here with a lot of money or a person here with we don't charge more because of where you live.
Sure.
And that's why people use us.
Right.
Because a lot of times people get bids, like they come to a house in Lake Forest or a nice place in Libertyville, and you're getting charged. They're getting estimates based off of more where they live, opposed to what the job should really cost.
Right.
And
it's based on your zip code. Right.
We don't do that.
That's great. Well, do you have you make cabinets and stuff. Is that where you spend a lot of your time?
I spend a lot of my time doing stuff like this with customers. Okay. My biggest, I love doing the cabinetry. If I could do that full time, I would do that. I'm looking at that more as I'm retired and have my own little shop on our part of our property and making little pieces of furniture for people. That is the long-term vision. But nice. What I like doing the most is talking with customers. I love planning and meeting people and building relationships with those homeowners. Because I like people, so it works out well.
That's great. What are some of the obstacles that you face or that you faced as you were building the business? Sounds like you built it straight up from hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, you were putting flyers on people's doors. Yeah. It doesn't get much grittier than that, which is awesome.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the obstacles have never been not having work. I've always been busy. And I think the hardest part has been learning how to manage that well. Okay. Like for years, I did all the paperwork and stuff myself. And I really don't like administrative stuff. I'm good at it. I don't like that. It's frustrating, and I don't know if it's just in Illinois. It's frustrating how hard you have to work to make money. Yeah. You really have to. With all as a business owner, everything that's involved, whether it's tax wise, workman's comp, this, all the stuff, it all adds up quickly. So it just. Particularly in my line of work, I can't speak for any because I haven't really been in a lot of other lines of work, but it's you have to work hard.
Yes.
But I'm okay doing that, and it's just managing that is it's
a lot of work in and of itself.
I love spending time with my wife and son more than anything else I do, and I don't like being burnt out when I come home.
Yeah. How do you keep a balance? Speaking of that.
I actually recently started meditating again, and that's helped out a lot in just learning how to, when I'm at home, when I'm with my son, just being with him. When I'm with my wife, whether it's sitting over coffee, that all this other stuff doesn't really matter. And just really trying to focus on what's going on right here, right now, and them knowing that Dad's present right now. He's here. He's not elsewhere. His phone's not ringing. His phone's in the other room opposed to on me all the time. So just little behavior changes that are making a big difference. And moving forward, I'm actually in a season right now where I'm questioning a lot of that. Like, how much do I want to grow, and what will that cost me if I do that?
Yeah.
Because it's not. We've had years over the years where we've done really well, and we've had years where we've done okay. And those years that I realized recently that we did the best sales-wise were the years that I was most stressed. And it's like, so what's the cost?
Your cost?
Yeah. And is it worth it? So that's kind of the thinking that's going through my mind right now, and I'm excited about that. My son asks me, had a conversation with him in bed the other night, and I told him, I said, what do you think? I said, I think I'm gonna take your advice and work less. I said, how would you feel if you had some little bit less toys? He said, that's okay, Daddy. And then it was cute though. The next morning, I told him about getting rid of the shop and moving to a different shop towards Libertyville that's a little bit smaller. And he said, "You're going to get rid of the shop?" Because we do stuff like we built a little box over there together.
Okay.
And he said, "You're going to get rid of the shop?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about getting rid of it." He said, "Okay, you can work more." So whatever. But yeah.
That's great. Stuff. That's great. How did you, speaking of managing the business and the cost of everything. How did you manage through 08 and 09? Was there anything that major adjustments that you made? Or do you have a philosophy that you work from?
Yeah.
Because that was hard on everybody, no matter what industry.
Yeah, because I have a lot of contractor friends, and I've been asked that question a lot. Because those were actually they're busier now for different reasons, but those were the busiest years we had. That was when things like really exploded for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think some of that is because at the time, yes, we were doing remodels, but what we really specialized in was the home improvement stuff, whether it was just somebody wanting us to come over for 4 hours to simple stuff like hanging pictures or hanging a chandelier or repairing, doing some carpentry, some crown. So I never said no to anything, whereas I saw a lot of my contractor friends who were doing the bigger projects. The homeowner would be very happy with what they did, and then say a few months later, the homeowner would call and be like, "Hey, can you send somebody to hang a towel bar or to do something little?" And they're thinking the next big project. No, call a handyman.
Which is tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to find somebody to do that.
So I never said no to anything, but a lot of people were hanging on to what they had and fixing up what they had, opposed to buying new. So that really gave us the opportunity to come in and take care of what people already had and make that nicer. So yeah.
So what kind of tips would you have for somebody that's striking out? Young guy like yourself, saying, you know what, I'm not going to do the corporate boogie. I want to do my own deal. What kind of advice would you have for that?
As far as in this line of work?
Sure, yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a good question. I would say focus on what you really enjoy doing. I think what gets complicated in this line of work, whether you're a painter or whether you are a finisher or you are a flooring guy, what happens is guys try to, and I've been guilty of this myself, try to over specialize in things.
Okay.
And then they end up finding themselves doing things that they really don't like doing. And that's where there was a great consultant that I worked with out of Libertyville who, it's like, what do you do? What do you not do? And it's like, I don't want to be cleaning gutters anymore. I don't want my guys to be up on a ladder cleaning gutters. I don't want to hang Christmas lights. Like, I really don't enjoy hanging Christmas lights. I don't care what people will pay for you to do that. So it's just, I think focusing on what do I want to do and going after that. And so yeah.
All right, cool. So tell me a little bit about, I'm kind of a geek about wood and stuff. Do you have a favorite, what do you love building and what kind of wood do you like working with? I mean, do you have a favorite?
I like, just because, I'll stay in my seat. I like walnut just because it's a natural darker wood.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff this is little things you won't know unless you work with different species, but like, when you cut it, like pine, people know what cedar smells like. People know what pine smells like usually. But when you start getting into like the walnuts and the maples and the different type of wood species, just simple things like running that stuff to the saw or the planer or the joiner, you get those aromas.
Yeah.
I'm a big outdoors.
Walnut's it's a rich smell.
Yeah, it's a very good smell. So I love the outdoors. I spend a lot of time out in nature, and I love the smells, the views, all of that. So that working with different wood species, I like walnut just because it's not just because it's walnut, but I like the characteristics of it, how it's knotty, there's not a lot of consistency in it. Like you might get a board that has, looks perfectly smooth, and the next piece has knots every.
Right. It's got a lot of character.
Yeah, and as far as like cabinetry, a lot of cabinet makers will use poplar because it's cheap, and most people can't tell the difference. It's a softer wood where you spend a little bit more money on maple, and that's going to be much harder.
Durable,
much better.
Right.
And you'll save, like on a whole kitchen job, you might save a few $100 by using poplar, and I don't know, whatever. So, yeah, it does. You do get what you pay for a lot of times.
So what are some, you talked about being outdoors and stuff. What are some of your hobbies?
I love backpacking, spending time in the mountains. One of my close friends and I, we take, just about every year, we take men from the Chicagoland area. It's called the Wilderness Brotherhood. We outfit them. We have all the gear, tents, stove. We have everything they need. All they need to do is show up and pay for their trip. We're an L3C, so it's not, being a non-for-profit was like impossible to get. So we don't profit in it, but we set up backpacking experiences for guys in the Chicagoland area. and we've been to Glacier a few times. We've spent a lot of time in Colorado. This year, Greg and I are going down to Peru in July, and we're going to be scouting out next year's trip. So we'll go there's a hike in the Andes there that we're going to do, and then we're going to go to Machu Picchu, and then so we're scoping that out for next year. Old friend who I met at Highland, he and I are meeting in Alaska to do a hike out there in September. So I think what I love about that is just, I like the cell phone not working. One of the places where it doesn't work, where your thought process is, there's not really a lot to do. You can figure out when you want to eat, where do you want to fish, when to go to sleep, where to go to the bathroom, or what to read. But your options are limited. So love spending out time outside, camping, traveling. My wife and I love to travel. This is the year where my son and I are gonna travel together without my wife. Not that I love traveling with her, but it's always been a dream of mine to have a son or daughter.
Just the guys,
and just he and I go.
Cool.
So he's picked out, we have in June a little trip. He wants to go to Alcatraz.
Oh,
so
yeah. My wife just did that.
That's one of my wife's favorite places. And we're going to start there and end in Colorado. But I did some research on some old ghost towns, like not touristy ghost towns. So my son wants to see the ghost towns. So we're going to go, there's some neat out in the middle of nowhere ghost towns where there's not people selling you stuff in tourism.
Yeah, right.
So, so I love that. I love sounds silly, but I love flying kites. I love the power kites. The ones that can lift you up off the ground and kill you if you're not careful.
Where do you do that?
We do it, my family, we try to go to Independence Grove on Sundays in the spring, summer, and fall and spend the whole day there after church.
So if I'm driving down 137, I look over and you're floating above,
that would be me.
You're doing a power kite then.
But that's
hey,
for
there's
fun.
Elliot.
And my son, he'll hold on to the bar, and then I'll hold on to him, but I'll let it lift him up in the air, and he thinks it's the coolest thing
That's
ever.
Awesome.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So the outdoors, I have a good friend of mine who is a big hunter, and he does Alaska and all over the world, really. And he has a saying. He says the Celts call that when you're really, really close to God, their thin place.
Yeah.
And he goes, being outdoors and hunting and being in nature where the cell phone doesn't work and your focus is. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
He calls that his thin place.
Oh, yeah.
That resonates with me.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
So thanks so much for your time, man. It's great to get to know you a little bit and about your
too.
operation. I really appreciate it. And that's a wrap, George.
Has written 1